Gooner, Ronnie Piper, and Tractor Boy, Luke Hume were on a search for a team with pride, passion, and glory. They went to the Big Apple and found the New York Red Bulls. From the Garden State to the Empire State, Red runs
I was going to say, a lot has changed since my last appearance. I took one off. There's been a new manager. We started winning games. We're getting points. We're at the cup now, so there's a lot to get to it. But first of all, Luke, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. If you asked me that a week ago, I wouldn't say that's mainly we've actually had a 2 week break because last week I got tonsillitis and was in no shape or form able to do a podcast. So we took a break and it's a good week to take a break, I think, because we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of positive stuff to talk about, which wasn't 2 weeks ago. We were very negative, and I was like, we're not going to do anything. Ed was on the border of Ed was like, I'm in the Red Bull like fan base now. I'm not there quite yet, but I think it's looking up. Just about anyway.
As I say, I'm not much of a mythical person, but I do believe the last time I was on here, I said by the time I'm next on here, I think we would have picked up 7 points, and since then we've actually picked up on 7 points. So it's been a lot more productive. The team is playing a lot better. Obviously, I think the main thing is injuries have been a massive problem this season, which is out of the control of anyone. I even briefly said it before on the last regime, saying it's a bit unfair of the injuries that we have had. However, suspensions have been a problem as well. And it doesn't help when you've got to play away in Toronto midweek with 3 players accumulate the 5 yellow cards, 2 of them being your starting centre-backs and 1 being starting centre midfielder, and then another player going off to the Under-20 World Cup, and he's doing very well. So we're very happy for Elderman. But it's just been so many stop-starts, and we've not actually seen the actual starting 11 at all, have we?
No.
Which is a big shame.
No, we haven't seen it all yet, and but I think we touched on it a bit in the last episode. Stu had to go. He was going to go at some point.
Yeah,
it was sooner than we thought. We actually called it. I think I said we last so we did it'd be like June, July time. I mean, it was way before. Well, it was early May, but I think it was an interval. It was going to happen at some point. It was just what point is the cut-off point, and yeah, despite what the gap folk are, it definitely was part to do with the whole thing that happened. Despite what they say, it definitely was. Um, and yeah, and technically, the new manager, I won't try and pronounce his name this time.
Come on, get the boy in. You know what
I mean? Hasn't actually lost the game.
Not in 90 minutes. No.
Not 90 minutes. Technically, even if you win up into a shootout, that doesn't count. It counts as a draw.
Yeah.
Paper. So on paper, he's actually unbeaten still. We probably look on differently. Say if we take us to MLS Cup final and we lose on penalties, we probably wouldn't say that. But I think they're good. Like, I'm not. It could be better. We all know that, but they're a lot more positive than we were a month ago. So that's a positive, and it's always upwards for what I see.
Yeah, I think obviously won't talk too much about the DC winning the US Open Cup, the Lamar Hunt Cup, because we're out anyway. So, but obviously it was after that. It was the Hudson River Derby against the old NYCFC, and history was made that day. Omir Fernandez become the record all-time homegrown goal scorer, overtaking Alex Morel. Fun fact. Been very impressed with Omir Fernandez yet again this season.
Also, our friend in MLS UK was over Barney.
Yeah.
How did that go for you, Barney?
Yeah, I think we was looking at that. If you had to look at that 11 that we started that game, obviously there was quite a few. That was the game where the yellow cards did cost us for the Toronto game. But it started up with Coronel, Nealis, Reyes, obviously Nealis again, Johnny Tolkien, Edelman before he went off to the Under-20 World Cup, Caceres, Harper, Yearwood, Omir Fernandez, and obviously Tom Barlow up front. Obviously, it's a bit of manoeuvring around now, working out. It's going to take quite a few weeks for the gaffer to realise what he wants to start with. When he starts getting players back, no doubt, obviously, when a Lewis Morgan comes back, he's definitely going to go into the lineup.
Yeah.
Edelman's been holding down a position in that team, so when he's back off under-20 duty, and there's a lot more names like that. But overall, it wasn't the best game of football. It's one of them that, as I say to people, if you're not playing well, but you're still picking up results, there's only one way to go, and that is up.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I agree.
I think I was going to say, especially that NYCFC game, it was a brilliant finish by Fernandez. And you've kept a clean sheet, you've won 1-0, and you beat your rivals. You're taking that any day of the week. So that's what I could clearly see. And after the game and his talk, he really did stress it, like it's still just the beginning. Obviously, then we had to go up to Canada on the Wednesday to play Toronto, which was one of them games that I was just happy not to lose. Obviously, with the lineup was very much different to the weekend before it. We was heading in with Carlos Coronel. Cameron Harper was playing as like the right back position. It was quite a weird formation because it was just getting people in the team kind of thing just to fill it out. Nealis, obviously Dylan Nealis, Sean was suspended. So was Reyes. And Dam started. I've been very impressed with him as well. He's a big unit, he is. Johnny Tolkien, Fernandez, Yearwood made his start. Stroud as well. Wiki Carmona, Ellis Manuel, and Tom Barlow again. So with that lineup, going away to a team who've lining up with Bernadeschi, Sapong, and Insigne up front, not to concede, and on another day would have won that game. Definitely would have won that game on another day. Could have had a penalty. It's just positive. I'm not trying to be too positive, but there is positives to take out of even the new neutral.
I agree. No, I agree. I mean, well, look at a month ago, we lost that game. 100% lost that game, and I always think every point is a good point, especially in Canada.
Yeah.
A point. Yeah, I think a point. Well, could help along. It could help come over the season, I think.
Yeah, and obviously, funny enough, we played Toronto on the Wednesday, and then the Saturday we played Montreal. So we was doing that. So obviously, that was the completion of the 2 games against Montreal for the season. Quite wrapped up nice and quickly. So we started obviously very similar. Obviously, some of their suspension to come back in. So yeah, Coronel again. Nealis playing at the right back position now that Reyes and Nealis were off of suspension. John Tolkien as ever stay at left back. Stroud Caceres in the middle. Wiki Carmona, Yearwood, and Omir Fernandez with Corey Burke, who I absolutely adore up front.
He's been good. He is.
So obviously 1-2-1 in that game. Andreas Reyes and Corey Burke with the finishes. Corey Burke, for a player that was solely brought in for the impact off the bench, it's had to have stepped up quite early. Obviously, with the whole situation going on with Dante's suspension and players, obviously Ellis Manuel, Barlow not scoring, so needed thing. Burke has been a bit of a life send at times. I don't think anyone in this world, especially me, cannot run as much as that geezer runs.
No, I mean what we want long term. Got to play Dante and Burke up front. Surely, that's got to be a long term plan.
I think
for the team.
I was going to say it's definitely intriguing once everyone's back because will he play Lewis Morgan still out on the wide position? Does he bring him into the middle? There's a lot of questions to be answered if and when we actually have a full selection available because who knows when that's going to be. And then obviously the misery of this week obviously got knocked out in the round of 16 to FC Cincinnati 5-3 on penalties. Obviously it did see the return to the starting 11 of Dante Benazir, but we did start obviously Ryan Meara in goal. Nealis and Dam, Nealis, Tolkien. Obviously, Tolkien is getting his minutes in. Stroud, Caceres, Harper, Yearwood, Barlow, and Van Zier up front. It was not the prettiest of games, but a game that it was a bit harsh to 1-1 going to penalties in my eyes. We were all over Cincinnati for pretty much most of the game. There was an absolute stonewall.
Oh, I saw that.
Game. Oh, I was watching. I'm not too. I don't like really calling out officials or anything like that, but he was dreadful.
He was bad.
Like, he looked like the shape of an Iron Man after Christmas when I've had a couple too many. He couldn't get around. It just was so off pace. He was booking. It's literally at one point, it's even one of the Cincinnati players kicked the ball 3 yards. And he said, no, it's kicking the ball away. It's a yellow. He was one day trying to over-officiate the game, but then when it gets to a big decision, doesn't want to make it. And at 1-1, you do that penalty, 2-1, the game changes. But obviously, it was quite a good opportunity. We would have been at home in the quarterfinal, but it's one of them. But now focus is obviously aligned back on. But obviously, out of the performance so far, before we preview the ridiculously late kickoff for us for Seattle the weekend, but I'd say the last 3 MLS games and the 2 Cup games have been positives, and you're really starting to see a formation and an 11 and tactics really starting to play out for the new gaffer. Because obviously Coronel is the number one. He played Mira in the week. With Mira, it's one of them that he's always been he's a life his life center. He's been at the club for so long, but you can tell he's getting to the later end of his. But he's not as sharp as he was or anything. And we did miss Coronel. I know obviously they gave Coronel a rest, even though he ended up coming on and playing striker for 26 seconds, which was quite intriguing. But obviously it's Reyes and Sean Nealis are the 2 centre halves. I think that's what picks itself. Obviously, John Tolkien at left back. Obviously, Cole Duncan is still out. Another injury that we didn't mention on. But obviously, Dylan Nealis has been playing there. Obviously, when Edelman's back, I expose he'll go straight back in. But at the moment, Stroud's been doing quite a good job in there alongside Caceres. And then Omer Fnez has obviously been playing off the left. Got Wiki Carmona's actually. I do like Carmona quite a lot, actually. I think he's a really good player. Then it's fluctuating then the next position, depending really on who's fit. Quite a few times it's been Cameron Harpo. That's really the actual start. And then my guess going forward, it'd be Dante through the middle. So there's obviously without Lewis Morgan and a few others, there's a clear 11 emerging now. And it's the 4 at the back, like the 2 deep line midfielders, the 3 and then the 1. So you look Yearwood in this 10, but I don't know if you agree now, but it's nice to see there's a clear plan of the 11. And it's now just waiting for them pieces of the puzzle to fall back into it.
Yeah, it's also nice to have identity and just see a team and would go out and play. I'm really impressed by Armand Fernandez this year. I think Armand Fernandez is such an underrated player. Peter Stroud is also a really good player. I still can't believe we actually managed to get him. That's why he didn't go to Europe. It's a lot of positives. John Tolkien's always incredible player. Carlos Cornell, good. He's had a few shaky performances this season.
Especially at the beginning.
He came up. He's sort of dealt with that well. He did that when he first came to the club. He had a few tricky periods. I remember on that podcast we were talking about the time to give Ryan Mary a chance. It was never going to happen. Gareth Stubben never ever changed the goalkeeper, and he's beginning to prove why he's so important to his team. And with games coming up, but are winnable for Red Bulls. Like games coming up, which you can definitely see him getting points out of. And it go all out. And who knows?
I was going to say, I think this weekend's fixture obviously away to Seattle, which obviously even kicks off late on the Eastern time border of 10:30 at night. For us, it is 3:30 a.m. So if there is presence from Red Bull on Twitter from us,
it won't be.
You know, I'm pulling an all-nighter.
Yeah, it won't be me.
Yeah, I might be if I'm there. I remember. I think the last time I'd done that was for LA Galaxy.
I did it for LA once. When I got up at half 2 in the morning. I actually went to bed early and I set my alarm to get up at that time. I think.
I'm still debating that one, but obviously Seattle is sitting second in the West at the moment.
Seattle are a great team. Always been on West teams, but always that. But there's always tend to be Portland with them. I know it's changed a bit recently, but
obviously they lost their last game.
Yeah, it's true. But if the Red Bulls within the West, they'll win it every year. That's my opinion.
Obviously you've got LAFC who are quite
good. I forgot about LAFC actually.
Yeah, they've only lost one game so far this year, LAFC. But
one team are unbeaten still.
I think everyone's been beaten now.
So at one point it was someone unbeaten.
Yeah, I think now Cincinnati and LAFC have both lost one game each. But like I say, at the moment Cincinnati are leading the way for the Supporters' Shield by 5 points, even though they have played one more game than LAFC. But like you say, there is the games coming up. Like we say, there'll probably be another few games in between us and our next podcast, which will be in person. So just having a brief look ahead of obviously some of the games that we've got, which are on the horizon. Obviously, like we're saying, it is Seattle coming up. Then it's into Miami, followed by Orlando, Charlotte. So, like you said, there is winnable games there. Seattle.
The thing is, Inter Miami is that's Thursday, be Thursday morning, won't it? Here.
Yeah,
So
so it's Wednesday night.
We could do a podcast. So. Yeah. So yeah, and then you got Lando as well at Web Arena. They're games that are there to get points, I would say.
Yeah, especially
at Red Bull Arena.
Like I say, obviously in Miami's away, and I still don't get to how Phil. It's going to come back to bite me. I know this, but I do not know how Phil Neville's still in charge there. Obviously, I know it helps if he's best mate with the owner. Yeah. But some of the stuff he comes out of in his press conference.
Did you see that video the other day? I'll interrupt you. Well, back to the question. Can you put a question again for me, please? Like what?
But like I said, weekend. Do I see many changes? Obviously, we're still, as of recording this, we're waiting on the injury report to come out to see if anyone has returned or is out from midweek. Obviously, Corey Burke went off looking very shaky on his feet with the head injury. Obviously, he was replaced by Carlos Coronel, so hopefully he's not gone into the concussion protocol. But if he has, obviously he'll be missing for the next couple of games, which would be a big miss. But I think looking at the next three, Seattle's going to be a very, very. I would like I say, just like the Toronto game, I'd be absolutely delighted with a point. It'd be one of them that to go all the way to the West and one of the stronger teams in the West, and you manage to get something would do a lot for the confidence of the team. But then again, you're playing that game Saturday night, getting back to the eastern border on like Sunday, and then obviously you've got to travel down to Miami for the game on Wednesday. So it's going to be even the Inter Miami one. I think you might see quite a bit of rotation going on over the next two games. I expect maybe Dante to start one and then Barlow maybe to come in for next. Obviously, if Corey Burke's fit, he might come in as well as Ellis Manuel. So I think it's going to be quite an intriguing few games, actually. And obviously, if we just go sideboard away from actual fixtures and just talk about some of the players' performances, I know you mentioned Omir Fernandez already, but I know obviously you've been watching the highlights. I've been watching the games live as well, all but one at the moment. But how do you see so far Drew Yearwood playing this more advanced 10 role? Because I'm quite enjoying it, but it's just his final product that's not quite there at the moment.
Yeah, it is the final product, and this is not the first time Red Bull's trying to do it. Like such a collection of players CDM before I ever came to Red Bull. I sort of evolved him into this cam role. And Sasha obviously had a lot more natural on the product. Like he sits 20 goals with that couple of seasons. So I think Drew's got potential. But he's been there a few years now. And he's getting to the stage where he needs to start showing it week in, week out, which is, I think, his biggest flaw.
Yeah.
He's got talent. You can see he's got talent. We all know that. He was brought to Red Bull very, very young age. It was actually a bit of a shock when he came to America. But he has to start performing on a week in, week out stage now because playing in New York, the biggest sports market in the world, you need to shape up. Otherwise, you're probably not going to make it here because it's the one thing Red Bull's got a lot of negativities. They're ruthless. They will cut you. Look at all the stuff happened to our former captains. People like Dak, who've been here like years. Sasha, Robles, BWP. They are ruthless to club legends. So they're going to be ruthless to a player who's been here 3 years. So I think that's one negative. But he's obviously then talented. And he's got the ability to do it week in, week out. It's more about putting that actually doing it now. It's never a doubt or ability, I don't think.
No, No, I do agree. I think obviously when he first come in, it was Caceres who was playing more the advanced role. And he was
Yes.
playing the deeper role. So that's kind of switched and evolved. But I like as well is they can flip in the game. So they have a good partnership because one can play deeper, one play advanced. But there's one question I did see, and I was going to put it on Twitter the other day, but I didn't. Will John Tolkien see out the season at Red Bulls?
Yes.
Do you think it'd be a Caden Clark situation where he could be potentially sold within the middle period of the season and loaned back, or January next year goes to
I actually think this is my take. I think Kane Clark will do another 2 years at Red Bulls, but I think what will probably happen is I don't even know if this will happen because I definitely think Leipzig are probably more not hold back, but Kane Clark deal didn't quite work how I thought it was gonna work. Because when I bought Kane Clark, he was on fire.
Hmm.
And then he never really hit that, never really hit the same level of form of a game. He wasn't even starting games for us by the time of his end of loan spell. Now I don't know if it's going to happen to John Tolkien, but he'll be. I think he'll be to end the season. It's a possibility. I think he goes to maybe Salzburg or Leipzig. I think it's probably like more likely to Salzburg, but I still think he'll probably see next season in that Red Bulls in New York, and then probably look to get him on board from, or maybe he's only, even he's like a 6 month loan, get him ready for the 2024-25 season in Europe. But he's not going to be here for long.
No, I think the one thing that he's unlucky and what he's got, I think he'll be considering, obviously, for any US men's national team player, having the World Cup at home, obviously sharing it with Canada and Mexico, is going to be a goal of anyone, not just be in the squad, but be started. And kind of one of the American players that has had a bit of a revelation this season is Antonio Robinson at Fulham. And he's got that competition of a player who's playing high level in Premier League. It's arguably one of the most competitive leagues in the world. So it's going to be very hard to take him out of that position with Johnny Tolkien playing in the MLS. Don't get me wrong. They obviously noticing they called him up to the last squad. However, they, especially if you're picking the squad, whoever the manager will be at the time of the World Cup, going to want their players to be playing at a high level consistently. You look at the US men's national team roster at the moment, all of near enough the whole squad now is getting game time in Europe and at good sides as well. You're looking at the team in general. You got, all right, Matt Turner's not playing, but obviously playing for Arsenal. You've got Antonio Robertson at Fulham, Tim Ream is at Fulham. You've got players like Weston McKennie, who's obviously was at Juventus, then Leeds, looks like he's going to potentially Brighton in the summer. Tyler Adams, who's been rumoured today to be on the radar of Man United. You've got obviously Christian Pulisic, who's at Fulham. And obviously the big news coming out of the US men's national team scene in the last week was obviously Florian Balogun, the very highly rated Arsenal striker switching. So you're seeing these pedigree of players now in Europe. Do you think it's going to be a bit of a thing now for younger players like your Tolkiens that it could have actually waved on? Clark think there's this promised land of Europe, but you've got to strike the right balance between not leaving too early, not going too late. But for example, I think the perfect example ever is Alphonso Davies. Obviously come through at Vancouver.
Yeah.
We went to Bayern Munich. Went to Bayern Munich as a left winger. And it wasn't elite. He was still very, very good.
Yeah.
But they see him as a left wing back, and he's proved to be one of the best left backs in the world. So
Also think with players move to Europe, it's a case of not only when you move, also who you move to.
Agreed.
Like Tel Adam did really well, went through the Frankie Leipzig, Red Bull network. He knew people. Jesse March was there. He knew people. Matt McGazer with Chelsea, really young age.
The only unused sub for the Cincinnati against Red Bulls in midweek.
Yes, and look, where's it got him? He went on a tour. He went about a tour of Europe to every country in the sun.
Yeah.
And now he's back in MLS in like 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
So has it really got him anywhere? To get when he made that play check? but he's not really developing as a player. Like Tyler Adams have. Tyler Adams is a great player, and I think a future US men's national team captain. Or is he already captain? Not officially
Who's that?
captain, is he?
Tyler
Tyler
Adams. No, he's captain.
He's officially now.
Yeah,
No,
official
he
captain.
was, but
No, he was he was captain for the World Cup, and obviously he's been injured since. I'm just guessing
yeah,
that he's kept his captaincy. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot to say about making sure you move at the right time. Like also there's a way of doing it, I think.
Hmm.
A way of handling it. But yeah, I think John Talk is he's got it's a time frame. It's a time frame, and I think most people know that. And
Yeah.
yeah, we've got to join along if we can. And I can't wait for the 26 World Cup. It's gonna be pretty amazing. I think the 26 World Cup.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try and get out to.
Yeah, so am I.
I think that's going to be. It's going to be one of them occasions that I think a lot of people are going to look back for in the rest of their life and be like, I was at that World Cup. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a catalyst for quite a lot of like difference in football. I'm not making it all political, but I personally don't agree with the 2022 World Cup. Obviously, changing it to time period and where it was, but America will do a very good job of it. Obviously, joining with forces with Canada and Mexico as well. But personally, for me, I'm into the trading card industry, and I just think it's going to be massive time for that. And as I've said to anyone, if 1% of the amount of people in America who watch NFL, NBA, MLB, or any of the sports in general go over to soccer, it's going to be an amazing time for the sport. And like I say, it's going to be a really intriguing few months ahead of us. Obviously, with the new gaffer coming in, I'm really looking forward to watching the game the weekend on highlights, most likely. But if I do watch it live, but like I say, it's coming thick and fast at the moment. Obviously, building up to international duty, which is in about 3 weeks or so, or
Something like that. Yeah.
Give or take 3 weeks.
You
So
got Leeds Cup coming up as well in the summer.
It's going to be quite intriguing, especially over that off period. And obviously, sadly for me, I will not be traveling out to America. I was debating it for the Arsenal pre-season tour. Then they said they was playing in DC, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go and sit in DC.
I was debating going for the League Cup. I think that's in September, July maybe. I did find it out for a week, but it's still a natural game. Last game of the season is tempting me. Going natural. That's tempting me. But yeah,
Well, if you do it, make sure your visa's in date.
yeah. Yes, I have got a visa now, so
Perfect.
I won't be having that last minute dilemma again.
Right. Obviously, everyone knows that we do love a prediction. Obviously, we predicted the amount of points that we would take, and I'm sure I got that spot on. But we'll do actual score predictions. So we'll do the next two.
Do two. I think we'll probably have another podcast before we land the game. I reckon.
Yeah, we're aiming to get one in the Thursday or Friday next week.
Yes.
So that would be the 1st of June or the 2nd of June. There will be another one coming out.